Most people never think about shipping routes. We see products on shelves and assume they arrive there through a simple, direct path, as if the system behind them is always stable and predictable. But the reality is far more fragile. The global economy doesn't run on an infinite web of options. It depends on a small number of critical corridors that quietly carry most of international trade. A single blocked route doesn't stay a local problem. It becomes a system-wide cost. And when even one of these routes is blocked, the effects don't stay local. They spread outward through the system, gradually but inevitably until prices begin to shift far from where the disruption actually occurred. Global trade doesn't move randomly across the ocean. It flows through narrow, concentrated pathways known as chokepoints, natural or man-made corridors such as the Suez Canal, the Panama Canal, or the Strait of Malacca. These routes exist because they save time, reduce fuel consumption, and make global logistics more efficient and predictable. In shipping, distance is cost, and time is capital. So the entire system is built around one assumption, that the shortest paths remain available. But when a key route becomes unavailable due to a blockage, conflict, or environmental constraint, that assumption breaks. Ships cannot simply stop, and they cannot wait indefinitely. Instead, they are forced to reroute, and rerouting often means traveling thousands of additional miles. A journey that once took around 3 weeks can extend significantly, depending on the detour. What looks like a small obstruction on a map quickly turns into a global delay in motion. This doesn't just create delays, it disrupts schedules across the entire network. Fuel consumption increases, transit times become less predictable, and the timing structure that supports modern just-in-time production begins to weaken. The impact goes beyond transportation. Longer routes increase operating costs through fuel, labor, and insurance. But an often overlooked factor is the cost of capital tied up in transit. Each container represents goods that have already been produced and paid for, but have not yet been delivered or sold. When shipments are delayed, that capital is effectively locked in motion. At the same time, because each vessel spends longer completing a route, fewer ships are available to start new ones. This creates a bottleneck in capacity. Even though the number of ships hasn't changed, the system's throughput decreases. In practical terms, the global network becomes less efficient, without any physical reduction in resources. As capacity tightens, competition for available shipping space increases. Freight rates rise accordingly. These costs don't remain isolated within the shipping industry. They move downstream through warehouses, distributors, and retailers, gradually influencing the final price of goods. Inventory levels become tighter, supply becomes less flexible, and when demand remains steady while supply is constrained, prices begin to rise. This process isn't immediate or dramatic. It unfolds gradually, propagating through layers of the supply chain until it reaches the consumer. A delay at the source becomes a price increase at the end. So when a single route is blocked, the impact is not limited to a delay in transit. It alters the cost structure of movement across the entire global system. It reveals how dependent modern trade is on efficiency and how sensitive that efficiency is to disruption. In systems like this, efficiency is not just an advantage, it is a dependency. Eventually, the effects appear in places far removed from the original event, on store shelves, in product prices, and in everyday purchases that quietly become more expensive. In a system built on the shortest possible paths, even a small obstruction can force the long way around. And that added distance is a cost that one way or another is shared across the entire network.